Today we have Nicole Guan. Today we talk about her role as a leader, of the clubs that she has done, how she came out of her shell of shyness, and how she developed a passion for engineering and aerospace and rockets. Stick around. This is going to be a fun one. How are you doing? How are you doing since Gaddy? Anything new? I guess busy since the new school year.
Yeah, so a lot of things happened, I guess. One of the most recent things was that, do you know USC, University of Southern California? So they reached out, they have an aerospace program, and one of them seeked me out as an intern because they really liked my application, even though they
Whoa.
rejected me like last year. So they're asking me to scout interns for them, which is kind of interesting. So
What?
that's pretty cool. And they're having a symposium or like a display fair of aviation soon, and I'll be in one of them soon. So that's very exciting.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's big. It might
I'm
also
not
be
sure.
because you have more experience now in,
Yeah.
I guess, that field. Wow.
Um, More
That's a
on
lot.
the academic side, I was bored after Gaddy, so I decided to make an idea, make a spectrometer out of like cardboard boxes and a camera and a diffraction gradient, which you can use.
I'm gonna need you to describe what a spectrometer is. I'm
It
not too
analyzes
familiar.
wavelengths of light.
Okay, yeah. And you made it with?
Like I'm still in the process right now, but I'm using cardboard boxes, wood, cameras, diffraction
Wow.
gradients. Just yeah, tinkering around.
That's fun. That's fun. That obviously shows you have a lot of passion in what you do. Just
Um,
because on your own time,
yeah.
you just fool around, you make these inventions, not inventions, but spectrometers. That's really cool. I like that. Okay. Uh,
Did
so
anything happen?
with me, I'm working on a few startups,
Oh, nice.
and there's this one, and I'm very passionate about this. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like imagine Duolingo, um, but you're teaching psychology instead of languages, and you're teaching like people how to increase their EQ, a lot of like very fun things. So that's a very interesting thing for me to dive into, especially make the curriculum on.
Well,
But it's a lot of work.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
it'll be worth it in the end, though.
I hope so. If it follows through, if I can, the problem is my tech team needs to be, I guess, smart enough to like program
Mm,
all of it,
yeah,
and yeah. So I'm doing that
gather,
entire thing.
gather the CS nerd.
Gather that's what I'm doing. Gather all the nerds, lock them in a room. Don't come out until they finish it. But anyways, okay, let's go on. What'd you say? You said spectrometer. You said okay. So from that, I guess let's go into engineering. You love engineering, specifically what kind of engineering and why?
So my passion lies in aerospace engineering, specifically on the astronautical side. So at UCI, I explored aviation, which is more on airplanes. And although I am more into rockets, that was a very eye-opening experience because I never looked at aerospace from a environmental perspective. So now I really want to pursue rockets still, but I still want to look at the environmental impact, such as looking at possible rocket fuel alternatives. Because right now we're using kerosene and a bunch of other stuff that's kind of bad, even though we use liquid hydrogen to make the product to be water. But in the future, I want to major in aerospace engineering and hopefully be a rocket engineer, maybe at NASA, JPL. We'll see.
Wow. What sparked your interest? What sparked your original passion in this field? Because you know a lot more than what
Yeah.
most people at your age would know.
So initially, I was really into biology, which is like not rocket related at all. It wasn't until recently I started getting into it, but when I saw rocket launches, I was like, because everything that humanity is circled around is at ground, at Earth's surface. So like civil engineering, you build bridges on Earth. But what makes aerospace so interesting is that it's off Earth, it's in the air. So because I really, really like looking into things that are very different or things that are not conventional, I feel like aerospace is not very conventional because we're doing something that like humanity isn't accustomed to. Like recently we've tried to get to Mars. Like that's really interesting to me because no one has tried to do that before. So the reason why I really like this field is because it opens so many different opportunities and experiences that like no one will conventionally think.
So what I'm getting is you
Mm-hmm.
want to pave your own path forward.
Mm-hmm.
You want to
Yeah.
create your own, I guess, field or do something great on your own. That is very, very high aspirations. And I'm glad that, I mean, even at such a young age, you're doing the research, you're putting in the work, you're trying, putting in the effort to get to where you want to be. That is amazing. What justifies this? What do you think that you have or you're capable of that can justify you having, I guess, these great ambitions, great goals?
So I think one of my attributes is that I really, really enjoy asking questions. So one thing I noticed is that people tend to hold back on asking questions because they don't want to appear as unknowledgeable or not very intelligent in a subject. But I feel like what sparks me is that every time I see something and I don't know how it works, I'm always like, how does this work? What is going on behind the scenes, right? So my first thought when entering a room, like when I went to UCI Gatti, like I asked the professor so many questions, asked my peers so many questions. Like although they were much, much smarter than me, so I felt intimidating. But like I saw that's an opportunity to like learn from them because why am I here, right? To learn. So I feel like my strongest attribute, which leads me to answering questions, really paves the way because once you gather answers to those questions, you're like, oh, so this is how it works, and you continue into like a rabbit hole. Like once you ask one question, you tend to ask another question. So I feel like the sense of curiosity that I have is really, really crucial, especially in aerospace engineering, where we're doing something very unconventional.
You know, it's actually like very important that you do ask these questions because let's say, I mean, most people are afraid of being, I guess, embarrassed or seeming stupid. But you know what? If you seem stupid for 2 minutes, you gain so much more information that later on it all pays off and it's all worth it. I think what is, I guess, allegedly stupid is thinking that you're like
Yeah.
asking these questions is silly. And on top of that, you're showing the initiative. You take making the most out. This is a way of making the most out of every opportunity. It definitely is one of your great traits that help you build yourself up to that point. And I guess one of the reasons why you are so willing to mentor others or help others or show your passion to others is because of is because right now or whenever you have the opportunity to learn, you ask all these questions. So you are able to be on both sides. Can you tell me about, I guess, yeah, tell me about your mentorship with others, how you teach others things that you're passionate about.
So before teaching, you are a student. That's what I find interesting because it's a very interesting paradox. Here's like I have been a student before. Like I am still a student, so I know what it's like to be in the shoes of someone that doesn't know something. Putting that in your perspective, like you really know how to approach someone that doesn't know something because you're once in their exact same shoes. I guess that's how I leverage my way of communicating with others, projecting myself, and also because I'm was before I was a very shy person. Right now, I may not seem so, but before I was very extremely antisocial. I could not say hi to anyone. I couldn't maintain eye contact for like 10 seconds. But now, because I have grown from that past me, like when I see someone that were as shy as I was, it really makes me feel like, oh, I want to make them grow out of their shell and like make them achieve their true potential, like kind of like that. So like seeing someone struggle with something that you did before is really inspiring to me because you really want to be the person that initiates the change within them.
Mm-hmm. You know, that it reminds me,
Mhm.
one thing that I really focused on in a lot of aspects of my life, because I do a lot of, I guess, educational roles or mentorship roles, is I try to focus on people I empathize with a lot. And in
Mhm.
that way, when I was younger, I was very shy. I was always
Mhm.
bullied. I was like that
Oh.
kid who's always left out. So then when I go to these programs and when I coach, like teach these kids, I think one of the reasons why I do so well is that I focus on the people who aren't excelling in that environment because they're the ones who need the most help. Okay, so I guess how did you really go out of your shell? How did you become someone who isn't shy? Because a lot of listeners out there to this
Mhm.
podcast, they're probably shy people. They're probably people who
Mhm.
need this mentorship or need to find a way out of the hole. What did you do?
So when I walk around campus, I see these banners and posters that classrooms have. That like the classroom posters that all the teachers decorate their room with. I got told by another student or a peer that a club made those, and I was like, "That's pretty cool. Like you make something, and it's around campus in every corner you see." So I decided to go to that club that was mentioned, and I saw like all of these different machines that were being displayed, being used, all the strange whirring sounds from all of them. I was like, if I could make something and have it displayed around the school, like wouldn't I be like famous? Like I was
Yeah.
like if someone walked by, I could just say, "Oh yeah, you know that thing you just walked past? I made that." Like that's kind of like you have ownership of the things around your environment. So that was what worked me into Printworks. And also another thing was that they teach you a lot of the softwares and machinery, and you don't see machinery like this anywhere else. Like, do you know what the Roland large format printer is? Like I didn't either, right? Like I didn't know what a laser engraver was, or like a vinyl cutter was, a heat press. So obviously, as someone that is extremely curious and loves to ask questions, like it was basically like a trap. Like I was like, I'm in. Like I have to stay in here to learn about all of these things because not all schools are lucky like us to have machinery like this. I knew for a fact that many of the schools that don't have this machinery, so that really warped me into Printworks.
So your tendency towards curiosity is what helped you defeat your shyness. Wow. I actually had a similar thing. Well, not similar because I don't think nearly to the scale that you did. But in high school, me and a couple of friends, we made this brand called Acrotag, and we would just like tags that you wear as necklace, like dog tags, and we would just laser things into it, and we would sell it for like $8, and we
Yeah.
made nearly $1,000 off of that. It was just one of the similar things where I was like, people are
Okay.
going around the school wearing my product.
Okay.
Granted, afterwards, now that I look back on it, it looks horrible, but it was definitely something that I was really proud of, and I was like, it gets my name out there, and it's my first, I guess, strive at being an innovator, being an entrepreneur. So I really like that. Well, you know what? That actually that ties back. You're wanting to, I guess, like have your name out there. It kind of ties back to probably why you have such big goals. I guess this thought of wanting to leave an imprint on this earth, it starts early, like as like a younger behavior, it would be I want to leave an imprint on this high school, and then later on I want to leave an imprint on this earth. So I guess it goes hand in hand. That's really really cool. So speaking of leaving an imprint, what do you do now? I guess what do you do now to leave an imprint on your environment, your community, your school, anything like that?
Yes. So as an engineering geek, I noticed that there are not a lot of girls in engineering. When I went to a program called UCI GADI back in summer, I was the only girl in my group, which was kind of awkward. So obviously, although that is a very commonly discussed issue, and there are a lot of organizations that focus on it, I feel like it can still cause like a mental spiral for those who have that problem. So in my robotics team and in Printworks, I was the only girl. And now, surprisingly, there is about 40% representation in women in engineering for my clubs. So what I like to do is as soon as I see a girl, like I like latch on to them. I'm like, hi, what's your name? So I appear very friendly, you know? And then as soon as I like basic introductions, I'm like, oh, do you want to learn this? Do you want to learn that? So obviously, they say yes, right? Oh, I feel like having that special someone to like not like latch onto you, but to like pay special attention to you because
Someone's mentoring you?
yeah, like someone specifically mentoring you that gets you hooked in. Because what I see is like once you neglect your members, they tend to like shy away from the club or the organization, like leave. But like you need to really pay attention towards the people around you. So what I did was as soon as I see someone interested in, I like, hi, what's your name? And I immediately teach them something that I know, something that's interesting, and really motivate them to kind of defy the stereotype. Because what I hear a lot of them say is that their parents are like, maybe engineering isn't for you because it's a very male dominated field, it's very hard, all the physics and math involved with it. But what I tell them when they tell me that is like, do you love building things? Do you like solving problems? Do you like to think critically? Do you like math? If any of those responses are yes, like, why are you shying away from a subject that you enjoy just because it's not conventional or like people are looking down on you for doing that? So I feel like just mediating that issue is really, really important in our community in general.
Wow, it's actually very great that you do that. And the reason why is that one thing that matters a lot is the representation of, I guess, a certain gender demographic in a profession. And on top of that, the thing that's under addressed is the quality of representation. The effort that you put into the club, the amount of passion that you try to, I guess, put on other people, it matters because it increases the quality of the representation. Well, I think I remember heard this a while back, but one of the critiques about companies, am I allowed to say this on air? I'll ask David. But one of the critiques about companies hiring, let's say specifically hiring a certain demographic, let's say engineering companies hiring specifically a woman, is people complain the quality goes down. And I believe something that you're doing is that you're kind of counteracting that, where because you're so good at like your certain topic and you're so passionate about it, and you're able to share that passion with others and show other people like the beauty of engineering and also like provide them with your wisdom, you directly affect that problem. I think that's great.
Like the most important thing is to make sure they feel included, like inclusivity in general. So
Yeah, that is like I think I love the way you latch onto them and more or less like mentor them, because some people need that, especially at your age. I guess a little younger than your age, people are lost and people don't know where to go, and if someone goes up to them and mentors them and offers them a path, it is very, very good for them, because it helps them kind of decide, hey, do I like engineering, do I not like engineering? And if they have a passion for engineering, boom, you just made a big impact on their life.
And I feel like if you see someone be so passionate about their subject, especially a subject that you're interested in, it kind of motivates you to like, oh, I want to be as passionate as them. So like another thing is like serving as a role model. You want to be a person that can look up to and they can learn from.
One thing I did a lot in Camp UCIX Gaddy is that I wanted to teach everyone, at least the people that interacted with me, my passion of psychology, the implications of human behavior in every part of life. And I started with just teaching my group of kids how to set their routine, just to like how to set their human psychology. So we started the day early, we started the day discipline, and then because of that, the entire day and the entire program becomes that much better because of the way you approach your day. Something as simple as that. And I went around and around and around, and I'm working on mastering my, I guess, knowledge of psychology and being able to teach other people it. It is something that's ongoing that I'm always trying to learn, but I love that you're still able to do that. So one thing I wanted to ask you about is that you said that your favorite quote or mantra is, I see a certain life for myself and I won't stop until I get it. What do you mean by that?
Okay. When you see a path for yourself, it is very hard to actually achieve towards the end goal. So I tend to be the type of person that tailors my goal so hard that I have no excuse of saying this is too hard or I don't know how to get started. And I feel like the hardest step is the first step, right? Because you see this goal, you see this vision, but always the toughest step is to take the first step. So my little goal or my little trick is to stay 3, 2, 1 in my head, and as at one, I just do it. Like even if it's just for like 1 minute towards that goal, it's still something. And I found that once you get started, it's like an endless spiral and you can't stop. At least for me. So as an engineering soon to be major, engineering is a field where you have to open paths for civilization or humanity. That's what engineering's for. That's what I think, to build new things for other people. So I feel like once you pave a path for yourself, eventually that path also impacts others. So I think that's what really keeps me going, because in my head, I'm like, if I don't complete this, people around me will either be let down or like
you will attain your goal.
Yeah, they like keep me in check, So those people, they remind me of like why this is my goal, is either to help them or to help people in the future.
I love that you talked about motivation, or at least in some way sense motivation, because having a goal is one thing, but planning it out and constantly reminding yourself of the goal is very, very important. That is something I wanted to make an app to gamify is I mean, I heard a while back, one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is have this proper motivation. And so how do you go about that? First is you have to look back at yourself. You have to look back at your life, look at all your achievements, look at what you've done until now. And then you have to look at what you want to do. And then when you find out what you want to do, and it's a long process to find out what you want to do, you have to plan everything you're going to do to get there, even down to what you're going to do daily. And then set yourself a standard, set yourself, I guess, this kind of minimum saying, I'm going to do this, this, and this every day. And these are my non-negotiables. Even if I'm lazy, even on the worst day, even if there's a hurricane, I guess not even if there's a hurricane, but as often as possible, I will accomplish this standard. And then from then on, most people use that to kind of achieve their goal. Your screen's shaking a lot, but yeah.
Isn't it? Is there earthquake?
Wait, is there?
We had an earthquake last week, so.
Okay. But where was I going with this? Okay, you know what? How about this? This is gonna be a fun one. This is gonna be a fun one. Pretend I'm just some random student, maybe even a female that walks into your club. What do you say to me to get me passionate about engineering, to make me love engineering? What do you focus on? What do you focus on? I guess, like, how do you pass this passion down? How do you make other people passionate about what you are passionate about?
Okay, so what Printed Works is that we're a printing club, hence the name Printed Works. So we can print anything we want, ranging from stickers, posters, to banners. So it's very easy to find someone's interest once you get to talk to them. Like, oh, do you watch any anime? Because we're all high schoolers, of course.
Yeah.
Anime, right?
Yeah.
So your favorite anime? What games do you play? Do you play like Genshin Impact or something?
And then you have them printed out.
Yeah. So, wait. I have a perfect example. Okay. I have an example. Okay, so if I see them everyone has their favorite character, even if you're non-gamer, like, you have a favorite character, I'm sure. So we have like a laser engraver, and like, this is my favorite character. So it's made of wood. And
is that Demon Slayer? No, it isn't.
It's Dr. Stone.
I don't know that. Okay,
anyways,
I'm sorry.
Anyway, he's an aspiring astronautical engineer. But anyways,
of course,
you latch onto their interest no matter what it is. It could be like the most absurd thing, but like, once you get to know what their interest is, you can, like, oh, you want to print a sticker of that or print a laser engraved character of that? That's pretty cool. Like, who wouldn't want an engraving of their favorite character, right? Or like a sticker? So I feel like that's very, very good, because that gets them into engineering, because we get to show them how to use the machine, how to print it out, what's the software behind it. And in the end, it is a reward system, because after all that hard work of the software and technical, like, they get a cutout of their favorite item. So it's like a souvenir for them of what they learned. And they tend to come back later and bring their friends, like, you want to make Sprout from Brawl Stars? Yeah, you can print one out. Having their interest being displayed as a physical, tangible item, it's like an instant reward system.
Yeah. Like Pavlov's dog. But I'm actually curious, and I might just be stupid, but what engineering implications does this have?
So for printing, it's a form of additive manufacturing, which is a fancy word for 3D printing. So although printing is layer by layer, right? You put ink on a piece of surface, or 3D printing, you put filament on a board, and it causes layers. That has a lot of implications, especially in biotech, where you may need to make an implant or an implant, right? Like, you have to make it specifically tailored for your patient. So that's why printing comes in. It is so customizable in a way that it has future implications in medicine. But because I'm interested in rockets, there's a company called Relativity Space that uses printing technology to make their rockets. So rockets have very complex structures to maintain the thermodynamic side, like the cooling, the heating. So what printing offers is a more sustainable and quicker, efficient way to build your products. So not only does it reduce the cost of the economy for these type of fields, it also allows for instant customization, which is very useful, especially in the medical field where each patient is different.
I love that. I love that you find something so complicated and so, I don't want to say nerdy, but like something so complicated, and you find a way to apply it to something that everyone's interested in, like bring them into this topic, bring them into engineering, and find their passion for engineering. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. One thing. Okay, wait, real quick. Is STEAM Fair a thing? Well, what is STEAM Fair? Tell the viewers, like, explain the entire thing to me.
So STEAM Fair stands for STEM, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Mathematics. So what our school did, it was a district-wide event, so around 20 different schools, elementary to middle schoolers came. And what we displayed was a large booth of various engineering or STEM fields or STEAM fields. So since I'm in robotics, what we did was we displayed our robot. We had the opportunity to give the kids experience of driving a robot that we built. And for PrintOutWorks, we had a laser engraver and screen printing. And what they got to do was actually use the machine to either make a tote bag, shirt, or a keychain made of wood. So the whole purpose of STEAM Fair is to really, really showcase not only our school activities, but also what STEAM has to offer for the kids. As elementary, middle schoolers, they're often not exposed to machinery or to these very STEM niche fields. So this really opens their eyes to these opportunities that they can possibly pursue in the future.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So did you gauge a lot of interest at the STEAM fair?
So obviously with kids, you have a lot of parents coming in. And of course, they're very concerned about like their child's education and whatnot. So what I found was that, wait, rewind. Yeah, let's cut this part out.
Yeah. I got you.
What's your question again? It was
Was there a lot of interest at your booth at the STEAM fair?
so not to brag, but PrintOutWorks had the biggest booth. We had like around 150 people in a line within 2 hours. And I think what made our booth so exciting was that they got to have hands-on learning with the laser engraver and the screen printing technologies, and they got to get free stuff. So free keychain, free tote bag, free shirt that they individually made, that they tailored for their specific interest. So that was the biggest event of our STEAM fair.
Mm-hmm. So how did you manage to handle like such a high demand at your fair? I mean, obviously, well, hopefully you guys didn't expect 120 people to come. How did you instill passion into this in all of these kids, every individual person?
So even though I was president of the club or a member of the team that hosted this district-wide event, I feel like it really wasn't possible without my team members or my colleagues, because achieving a great thing like this, you can't do it alone. You need help from others. So leading up to this event, I had a whole team of people working alongside me. So obviously I had design team work on the logos of the shirts and stuff. I had the engineering team make sure the machines were working, and our business side making sure all the logistics of the event was working. So yes, although I was the lead of this event, or co-lead, I had to have a lot of support and backup plans and backup people to help support me along the way. So to reiterate, this wouldn't have been possible without people helping you. So working a team is really important, especially in an event like this.
You know, it's so important to, I guess, give credit to the people who actually help you get to where you are. I'm glad that you do that. But how was your experience as a leader? Like, obviously, leading a team that big and as like someone who's this young cannot have been easy. How was your experience?
I remember the day before, like I was lying in bed, like just staring at my wall, feeling overwhelmed. But like when I go on my Discord server of all the people that are working on this event, like everyone sounds so excited, sounds so motivated, and like they're like, "Oh, I can't wait for tomorrow to come." So seeing that happiness or like excitement from others really makes you excited as well. Like you guys worked so hard leading up to this event. Yes, again, I was leader, but I feel like the energy that people around me gave off really helped me out too as a team leader.
Wow, yeah, no, humble indeed. Well, that's a very good attitude to have. You know, something I noticed is that you are very good at making people passionate about these subjects. Did you learn this from somewhere? Did you learn how to become passionate, or did someone mentor you?
So I remember when I first walked into PrintOutWorks, I had no knowledge of anything around me. So I had this upperclassman named Chris. He now currently works with the company that sponsors PrintOutWorks, which is where we get all our machines from. And he will stay at school till like 7 p.m. just working on the club by himself. Like obviously, who wants to stay at school till 7 p.m.? Like we end school at 4, so staying an extra 3 hours in school sounds like bad.
Yeah.
Sounds bad. Seeing
So
him work
he went above and beyond to help you.
yeah. So seeing that really like moved me. I was like, wow, someone like he hates school, but like he's still here doing this because it's fun for him. So I feel like seeing that inspiration really hit me as well. I was like, I want to be someone like him where other people see me and feel motivated to pursue something. So that was a huge step. And also another thing was I have a younger sibling. He's 6 years younger than me, so he's in sixth grade right now. And as an older sibling, you feel you have a responsibility of serving as a role model and working hard to show them that they have something to work towards to as well. So I feel like having someone look up to you not only does it add pressure, but also adds a satisfaction of like once you get to that stage and you and
So
you
you're able to practice, I guess, the behavior of mentoring someone while growing up, and that's what made you so good at it. You mentioned to me that your initial passion for, I guess, engineering overall was because of your family. Can you tell me more about it?
So my father's occupation is a handyman, which means that he goes around homes to to fix things like dishwashers, air conditioning, electrical. So he does a little bit of everything. And as he went home and I greeted him at the door, I always saw him with a heavy belt full of tools, and especially like this daunting looking bag that had like three drill heads sticking out of it. And as a young child, like I was 9 at the time, of course I was scared because like every time he would press it, it would be really loud and like it looked really sharp. So that was really, really scary. But every time something went wrong in my home, he would pull it out and like somehow that tool in his hands would fix that thing. And he would take apart things, put them back together, even often better than what the original was. So seeing that to my day-to-day life growing up, I got naturally curious about how these tools work. So one day he decided to like teach me how to drill worked, building a shelf out of practice. And seeing as a child, seeing 4 planks of wood, like you don't think much of it, it's just wood. But like over the course of 2 hours, somehow that those boring pieces of wood became a functional item. We built a shelf. So that was really, really interesting because initially I was really scared of drill, but here I am using it to build something for myself and like creating something new. So I think that really kickstarted my career, I would say, as an engineer.
That definitely makes sense that that's something that you start with, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
like with fear, something that is confusing to you ends up becoming useful. And that definitely makes sense that it sparked your initial curiosity because when you realize that things that you fear, things that you don't understand can actually
Mm-hmm.
play such an important role in society or
Mm-hmm.
important role in your imagination,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing what that can do for you.
And like in Printed Works, I felt a sense of deja vu because once I walked in, those machines are bigger than me. They probably weigh like 1,000 pounds. Like they're huge.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was intimidated at first because when I saw them working, like the nozzle head working and moving, I was like, I didn't know what it was. Like, if what if I touch it and break it? I have to pay the school back $100,000. Like, I don't want that to happen. But like looking back at the experience of being scared of a simple drill, but yet here I am now using it to build things. I feel like that got me also out of my comfort zone because once was unfamiliar became familiar, and I feel like that was very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you a question, and I realized a lot of these questions are super, super similar. But it's very important to, I guess, understand the difference between these questions. So what are the next steps for you? Let's start with what are any future projects or initiatives that you want to do in engineering? What's the first things that come off the top of your head?
So the first thing is rockets because I am a rocket nerd. So I actually tried to build one with my peers that were also interested in the same subject as I was, and we were really good friends. But what I found was that we lacked guidance, so that kind of fell apart. So one thing that I want to do as soon as I get to college is that I've heard college has a lot of research projects that undergraduate students can get into. So the first thing I want to latch onto is build a rocket. Even if it flies only 10 feet, like I just want to build something that flies and lifts off of the ground. Just build something simple because I know whatever that is will take me long in the future. I'm sure there's a lot of experience that will be contained. So I really, really want to build a rocket, even if it only
Yeah.
flies 10 feet in the air.
That's actually a really, really amazing way to look at it because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you set some big goal
Mm-hmm.
that's might not seem achievable, I mean, obviously there's like a really low chance to achieve it. It kind
Mm-hmm.
of goes back to your initial planning of saying, if you have your eyes set on something, you do it. And this is like a really good look into your brain. psychology. When I ask you this question, the first thing that you think of is what is the next step? Like, what is the most immediate thing that I can do? And I think it's a very, very good way to look at it. Some people get intimidated by the broader picture, whereas you just focus on the next step, the next step, the next step. What advice would you give to people who are trying to go into engineering or who are maybe too shy, especially like women who are too shy to enter the engineering field? What advice would you give them?
My advice is to ask questions.
It's to ask questions. So what you do, be curious,
Yes.
ask questions, learn.
Because once you ask questions, you tend to not only show that you're interested, but you learn a lot more just from listening to someone. Like, sure, a lecturer could talk for hours and hours about how a rocket works, but will that really like be contained all in your brain? As as you learn that you need something called active recall, and I feel like asking questions is a really huge trigger to that, because if you ask questions, you're like 99.99% more tend to memorize it or remember it. So I feel like asking questions really, really helps. And also, if you're shy and you're intimidated by all those people around you, so what? You're here for yourself. Like, why should you care about what they think? Like, sure, they could look at you to be the most stupidest person in the room, but why does that matter to you if you're here to learn about the subject that you're into, right? So that I feel like that's my philosophy, because for me, I don't care what other people think. I think that's just like the personality issue.
It
I'm
definitely
here,
works.
I'm here for myself, not for others. So constantly reminding yourself that really, really, really helps.
So what you're telling me is pursue curiosity and disregard criticism. Well, not criticism. Disregard negativity.
Just
Yeah,
focus on yourself
focus on
and
yourself.
remind that you're here for yourself and not others.
So one major part of engineering is failure. I'm 100% sure that every person who becomes an engineer is no stranger to failure. How do you handle failure in your projects, in your life, everything like that?
So as people know, when Edison made the light bulb, he failed at least hundreds and hundreds of times. That's the same in any field, right? But especially in engineering, when you're prototyping, you have to troubleshoot, you see a lot of errors that you couldn't foresee. But every time I make a mistake, it's just a signal to me that I'm getting closer to my goal. Like, how can you achieve something great without failing on the sides, right? Like, every mistake you do, although it could be discouraging that you're not there at the time that you expect there to be, but just know that once these mistakes occur, you're one step closer to the end of the result. And every time you fix a mistake, that limits one thing that could go wrong. So as you occur more failures, it's like checking off things that could go wrong. Just seeing it as a step towards your end goal really is like a very good reminder that
So you view failure as progress, just
Mhm.
another step in the right direction. The more you fail, the closer you get. So that's a great view to have on failure. But is there any specific instance in your life that you have experienced failure?
So as an aspiring engineer, you have to be good at math and physics. That's a given. Like, I took AP Physics 1 as a step towards that. So I took it last year, and the grade I received for first semester was a C plus, and that hurt. I was like, if I'm not good at this, how can I move forward? And next semester, I ended with a B, which is an improvement, but not good enough for me. So that was a huge toll. Like, oh, I'm not good at physics. How am I going to be successful in the future? But physics is hard. Like, especially as a first year student in physics, it's hard. And not, although I didn't receive an A in the class, my passion did not die down. Yes, I was discouraged, but I still loved engineering, even though I was really, really bad at physics. So during summer, I did something that I hated myself for. I took an AP Physics 2 class during summer, and as someone that struggles so hard with physics and failed, why would I do this to myself? So just going back, like, that moment of failure, like, Okay, failing in physics is a very undesired aspect of being an engineer, but as long as you're passionate about solving problems, I feel like physics is just the intermediate step of that. Because engineering is not all, yes, you do need to know physics, but it's not all centered around physics. You need to know like global issues, how to solve problems, stuff like that. So I didn't, although I was really hard on myself for failing something so crucial to be successful in my career, I took it as a signal to improve at it. That's why I took AP Physics 2 during the summer, even though I hated myself for it. So I literally locked myself up in my room and sat in my chair for 5 hours straight, just solving physics problems. And although that might sound mundane and tedious to others, every time I solved a question correct or received an A in my exams, it was a huge, like, proud moment because before I ended with a C, but now here I am during summer with no AC solving physics problems and ending with an A. So now I am currently in AP Physics C, and my teacher literally looked at me and was so shocked because she knew I wasn't the best student. But over the course of the week, she told me that how much I improved. So like seeing your hard work pay off, like going from a C to an A or like being the top of your class, it's a really huge, huge motivating factor because it shows like all your efforts paid off behind the scenes, and that just know working hard at something you're bad at really, really does pay off. And now I am more than confident during college I can tackle the rigorous courses that it has to offer.
You know, that reflects really well on your goal, where when you have a goal and when you have like a vision for your life, nothing will stop you. Whereas like, I mean, one hindrance a lot of people your age will have is, I guess, ambiguity in the future, ambiguity in the careers. So if they come across a challenge, they will immediately run away. I love that because you had that concrete vision for your future, you knew this wasn't an obstacle you could run away from. You knew this wasn't an obstacle that you could avoid. You turned back around, and instead of doing something like mundane, like avoiding physics, quitting physics, or maybe even taking it a few years after or retaking it, you're like, no, I'm gonna do the hardest thing possible. I'm gonna take it in the summer where the curriculum is accelerated, the curriculum is harder. Give yourself a challenge, and you force yourself to be in a position where you had to either excel or give up, and you knew you were the person to give up. So that is, I mean, that's a very, very beautiful way to look at failure.
But I hate losing. So
You hate losing.
I hate losing. So if I lose, I have to like bounce back. So that was kind of my way of bouncing back.
As long as you have the proper motivation. I want to thank you so much for actually coming on today's podcast, telling us your passion about physics, how you mentor others and teach others in physics, and physics. I want to thank you so much for coming.
I want to get you into engineering now.
Me into engineering. I go back to high school and I take physics all over again. I remember in high school I took physics, and during the exam I brought a pillow because I did not study at all during the exam. So what happened was I immediately finished the exam. Like, it was a 2.5-hour exam. I finished it within the first half an hour, circled randomly. My 90 something dropped to like a 70 something, and then I grabbed my pillow, slapped it on my desk, and slept.
That's a vibe.
Best decision of my life because I'm not an engineer. But anyways, thank you so much for coming to my podcast today. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. Thank you so much for just telling us your story, how you came to love engineering and how you can inspire others to love engineering as well. And showing us your, I guess your view of failure and your process and your journey throughout failure, throughout your life, and how you became passionate about engineering overall.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for putting me onto this podcast.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll see you around. That was definitely a fun episode. She does bad in a physics class, turns around and takes a much harder one. I think that's just a great testament of her character and her initiative, and how much persistence she has to get what she wants. She's a great individual, and for all of you out there, just remember, ask as many questions as you can. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. See you next time.